Good day, and welcome to the Bearded AI Guy. In this episode, we are comparing GPT-4o against GPT-4o-mini for agentic workflows. Does GPT-4o-mini have what it takes to run complex multi-agent workflows? Let's find out.
Okay, today we're doing a comparison between GPT-4o and GPT-4o-mini. This is GPT Assistants Playground. I've made a few changes and updates that allow us to see more of the visuals behind how an agentic workflow runs. So what I've added is an interface for us to allow us to define and upload YAML files that have the agentic behavior tree description. So let me just upload file, choose the Medium Blogger v2. So what you can see here on the left is the tree in YAML, the agentic behavior tree in YAML, and on the right is the graph. So at the top here, we have the selector node. Remember, the selector node is just an OR node, and I have a previous video that describes behavior trees and how they operate, so you can take a look at that there. But the selector is just an operator that works as an OR. That meaning this is going to be successful or will be successful and so on. What happens is it's first going to execute this path, which is our primary path. If that fails, then it's going to run this path or this node. That way you can see on the primary behavior we want to derive that it's going to be search YouTube, write blog, post, and cleanup. But if that fails, then at least it does its cleanup. On the YAML, we can see that the description of the selector, first node, and then a sequence node. And in that sequence node, we have an agent called YouTube Researcher. And that YouTube Researcher has these instructions. These instructions are going to act like a user prompting the agent to do something. The agent itself, the YouTube Researcher, has its own instructions or persona, if you will. We'll look at that in a second. Likewise, for writing the blog, actually, let me take a step back and talk to what this agentic behavior tree is doing. It's going to first search YouTube, given a key search term. It's going to look for videos that are related to that search term for the last week. I think that's what we define here as the last week. It's going to return those videos, download the transcripts of those videos, and then look at one of those videos and summarize them. That summarization is going to be dropped into a file called YouTube transcripts. And then our next agent, which is the Medium Blogger, is going to pick up that file, again called YouTube transcripts. It's going to pick up that file, look at the summarization, look at the transcripts, and then write a blog about it. And these are the instructions that we give to the Medium Blogger to write how it's going to write the blog. But it has a system prompt or a persona prompt that defines a lot of how it's going to behave. And we'll look at that in a second. Next, we have the post, which essentially is a Medium post writer. It's going to load up a file of the blog file names, which is created as the last step of the previous agent, loads up that file, and then writes a post for LinkedIn, Twitter, and Reddit. Reads the contents of the Word doc, and then writes all those posts. And then finally, we have the cleanup, which is just a file manager agent, has simple ability to delete files, move files, etc. And we're just telling it to delete a couple of those files we created during the operation. This agentic workflow doesn't use conversation to transmit ideas across to agents. A lot of the agentic platforms out there use conversational. Conversation can get really expensive. You'll get a lot of repetition in ideas. It's good for getting emergent behaviors or solving some unknown problems. But if you have a problem that you want to this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, conversational workflow is really not the go-to that you should be looking at. So let's look at a couple of these agents or assistants, and then we'll run the workflow. So let's look at the YouTube Researcher v3. Okay, and these are just the basic instructions, essentially the persona of this assistant. I'm calling it an assistant here because this is OpenAI Assistants, which is what the GPT Assistants Playground runs on top of. Nexus uses more agentic workflows. You can use GPT-4o or Claude or various other models in Nexus, but my preference typically is to use OpenAI Assistants because I'm more familiar with its reasoning and planning structure, how it's executing actions, and the workflows I've developed work well on top of that. So I'm just doing the comparison for that in here. So you can see the model it's using, GPT-4o. These are its basic instructions on how it's operating. You can think of these agents or assistants as programmable functions, dynamic functions that have a set of behaviors that'll do that we then can instruct it to do more detailed behaviors and more detailed instructions in the prompt we're generating within the behavior tree. And a lot of newer agentic platforms are taking this approach now where they'll have a persona prompt and then they'll have an instructional or task prompt. So let's also look at the Medium Blogger. You can see I have a whole heck of a lot of agents or assistants here that I've defined for various tasks that I've either wired up in agentic behavior trees or I just run them on the cuff. This one is a little more detailed. We tell it or give it a personality of Ernest Hemingway. This is often very helpful if you want to embody something or give it a little more personal touch to content. Make it look less like AI, for instance. Using a persona of Ernest Hemingway is a really good idea for that. It has a format for how it's going to write. Again, the style, what the content is, what it should be aiming for in content-wise, the format or template that it'll write in. So like a lead-in paragraph, introduction, heading, and then each section will have 3 to 5 paragraphs with some code or images, etc. Again, very structured, but we're then tweaking that with these instructions, these custom instructions or prompts, if you will. It's kind of like the same thing a user would sending that instruction. This is the workflow, so search YouTube, write blog, write a post about that blog, and then clean up. We have the option where we can just run this here. What I want to do is demonstrate a new feature where I've wired this up into Prefect, not using Prefect ControlFlow, which is a new agentic pattern developed by Prefect, which follows pretty much the same pattern I've used, except they have a little more advantages there that I'll get into in a second. So let's deploy it, and then we'll go to the Prefect Flow Runner. I'm going to look at the deployments, and you can see our Medium Blogger is deployed. That's what that green button means. We'll click on it, and I'm just going to say quick run. So I'm just going to run it. And here, this is the file, and then the option of the tick interval. The tick interval defines how much time to wait between updates of the behavior tree. So let's take a look. Let's see it's running, perfect crane. Okay, so we can see the search YouTube agent is already undertaken. Why we're only seeing this one little green blob when it's actually still running is because this is instantiated in a thread. Behavior tree, PyTrees package needs to run in threads. And when I try and track that within Prefect, it doesn't go so well. So I'm going to work on that to give it a little more better visualization of that. What we can see in here, we can look at how it's progressing. Each of those ticks in the behavior tree is showing up as an update. We can see the progress, or we can go in and look at the logs as well to see what the actual activities are. So you can see here it's downloading the transcripts for the videos and then saving the transcripts. Sorry, it's starting to download all the transcripts. Oh, and it's actually gone into and started creating the Word doc and writing. So it's actually moved into the next part of the workflow, which is the Medium blog writer. So what it's doing in this case is it's generating everything into a Word document, and it's going to generate each piece of content into that document. So the headings, the images, image captions, paragraphs, code sections, etc. It's all getting generated here. You can go back, you can see, sure enough, our writer is writing. We can see it's been updating a couple times. Generally, it's reasonably quick. I'm expecting when we move to mini, it should be a lot quicker. Okay, writing. And look at the logs as well. See a lot of activity here, creating images. Creating images is sending requests to Dolly to create images. It's providing the descriptions of what it wants in the image based on what it's writing in the article. So one of the things we'll be critiquing when we're looking at the final output of this is how well the images look, the content of the document, the format, the layout of the document, etc. The writing could take sometimes a few minutes with 4o, expecting 4o-mini to take much quicker time. Okay, so now it's gone and done the post task, and it's creating those posts for each of the different channels or social media channels we want to post to. And it's terminated, success we can see, and it's progressing to cleanup. The cleanup then is going to go through and remove those files that we created, wanting to just keep a clean slate in case we run a game. We're not going to write the last post that we generated. You can see the cleanup updated. Cleanup has terminated with success, and it looks like we're all good. So completed, all states complete, and the run itself exited cleanly. Okay, let's take a look at this. So our total time is 4 minutes and 33 seconds for 4 task runs. And in this case, each task run is an agent. Okay? And we can see that each of those task runs over a duration of 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Again, the visualization isn't quite like what I would like to see. We want to see the full duration of each agent. I'm working on that. The reason for this issue is because of threading. Let's go back to our agents. So here's our Medium blogger. And what I'm going to do for each of these agents is just change the model. Okay, just change the model. I don't have to hit save in GPT Assistants Playground after an agent's been created. It automatically just updates itself. So let's go to YouTube Researcher 3, convert that to mini. Okay, File Manager also is the next one we want, mini as well. And the last one was in Medium Post Writer, if I recall. That's this one here, and we'll also turn that to mini. Okay, so now each of our agents are using GPT-4o-mini. I've set that all. I don't have to do any other updates or anything like that. We already have our behavior tree deployed, so we can just run it and see how it's going to run. Should have already taken all these updates. So let's go back to our deployments. Again, we're going to go to the Medium Blogger v2, and we're going to just do a quick run with the new models. Okay, we're going to keep everything else the same using the Medium Blogger v2 and the tick interval 30. Let's run it. Click on view run. It's just going to take a few seconds to start. Okay, so there we go. It's doing the search YouTube. Our previous run with 4o was 4 minutes and 33 seconds. So my expectation is that mini should beat that. Okay, so while that's running, I'm going to go take a look at the output. So here's the output of the GPT-4o. You can see it's got that leading paragraph. It creates an image, caption, sort of a title to the article. And it's going through introduction, building intelligent AI agents is the theme of the article. You see some interesting pictures. Intelligent automation in a futuristic workplace. Doesn't look too bad. Okay. Interesting pictures. Some of them get quite wild, these pictures. And conclusion, and it's obviously referenced the video as well, that it's pulled all this stuff from. So not too bad. Laid out the format correctly and everything, so it seems pretty good. Now let's go back to see what the progress of the 4o-mini. Okay, it looks like it failed. I'm going to try it at least one more time because I did have this running before and it wasn't quite as good, but it looks like it's failed. The reason why it might fail is because it's just picking the wrong videos. There's a number of reasons why it can fail. And it's more the fault of the model itself that's causing these failures. A lot of times when we're developing these agents, we kind of develop them very specific to the model and the capabilities of the model. So as I'm developing these assistants or agents, if you will, I will do it in sort of a chat interface, write what I want or expect it to see, and be confident that it's going to produce that same output over and over again, that then I will then include it into a full agentic behavior tree, which then I will then add some additional custom instructions and so on. So let's just try and run this again. The nice thing about this is now that it's deployed, as long as the Assistants Playground is still running, I can retry this any number of times. So let's just hit the retry button. We're just going to retry the run. Okay, so it looks like it's searching YouTube again. Okay, so it completed searching YouTube, and now it's writing the blog again. Looks like it's more successful this time. So the time for both runs is still about 4 minutes and increasing. Remember, our previous time was 4 minutes and 33 seconds within one run. Not sure if I count both runs. Maybe I will. So, and it's still writing. So I've seen a couple things in the logs that don't look good. Let's just let it finish. I'll see what's going to happen. This is 2 runs within 5 minutes and 20 seconds total. I'm not going to run it a third time because I think it's not very good. And when I ran it in sort of a pre-trial test run, if you will, the output wasn't entirely what I was satisfied with as well. Okay. Looks like it's gotten into cleanups and stuff like that. So let's see if we can see what it wrote. Okay, so here's what the GPT-4o-mini wrote. Added the disclaimer. It's added a paragraph. It looks like it's missing the lead-in paragraph. It's got a title. It's using the same image. It's writing some code. It's not very good. And this is the same sort of thing I experienced before. It's not following all the instructions as well as 4o is. And for these kind of advanced workflows, I don't think 4o-mini is going to cut it. So I'm not going to use it very much anymore myself. But I do see it is faster. It is obviously cheaper, a lot cheaper, but there's going to be a line for what you want to use it for, I think. For these types of complex agentic workflows, I don't know if it's a good choice right now. I'll still think about it, but as of today, I'm pretty convinced that GPT-4o-mini is not a good model for agentic workflows.
Well, there you have it. GPT-4o-mini is just not capable of undertaking complex agentic workflows. While Mini is cheaper and faster, it currently lacks the reasoning and planning finesse to undertake complex goals. Do you agree with what we found here? If not, please comment. And, as always, thank you for watching, and please comment, like, and subscribe.